you doing, everybody? Welcome back to the Director's Garage Live. I am your host and resident, Idiot Michael, and how y'all doing? What's happening today? We got ourselves a Wednesday. Cheers, everybody. We are halfway through the week. I hope you didn't get that blast of feedback that I got in my head, because it was not fun. Goodness gracious, I opened up something I shouldn't have opened up, pot-wise, and it went right into my headphones. I don't know if it went out. Tell me. Tell me if you heard that, because that'll wake you up, man, when you get a blast of digital feedback. It's not a good time. How we all doing today? What's going on? We got Good Pixel Productions in the house. We got Adnan in the house. How you doing, Adnan? Good to see ya. Man, oh man. Quite a week. I literally was working up to the very second that I pushed on air. Like, I literally, like, I sent out a shoot report of something I did for an upcoming show on ET, and bam, we were, like, live. And I'm like, is everything in place? Because I really don't know. Look, nothing is set up today. It's really quite special. Quite a week. I have been hard at work on episode 107, and I am so excited that I'm going to get to share that with you guys soon. It's really special, and it was really expensive. I bought the most expensive thing I've ever bought, I think, single item for this show, and well, for me too. I mean, it's a passion, so I'm really excited to show that off. Lots of guesses, none of them are even close, and it's just so cool. It's so cool. I can't wait to show it off to you. That's coming up. That's coming up within a couple of days. Okay, so Good Pixel Productions is waiting with his drink and his headphone on. Yeah, that's what this is about. This is about just relaxing. It's about kicking back for about an hour and a half. We'll go live. We'll talk about all kinds of stuff. We did an episode, like, I think it was 2 weeks ago. We talked about barbecue for an hour and a half. It was great. It was one of the most fun sessions I've ever had online. We're just kicking back recipes and all this stuff, and just amazing. It was such a good time. Cheers, everybody. How's everybody doing? Are you getting through the week? We have a non-resident idiot waiting for an idiot like me. Yeah, I was about a minute or two late today. Yeah, it happens. Like I said, I was right up until the very last second, and I finished up push play, got online, bam, and here we are. Whoa. I'm glad everything is, for the most part, set up on this show. I'm not sure my focus is perfect. Yeah, I guess it is. Nanna says, let's take a moment of silence for the demise of his shit. I don't know how to pronounce that amp, but Molnar 2? No more tubes for him. You lost a tube, did you, Adnan? I have been through the tube gambit. On a very expensive level. When I first got my Woo Audio WA5LE, I had the stock tubes in it, and then a PS Vane, I guess, is what they came with, and then I upgraded those to EML, Emission Labs. And I had Emission Labs tubes. They were great. They were rock solid, worked for years. And then there was a company out of Germany that came up with a new tube. And damn it, it was an oval tube, and I've got it in a drawer, one of them in a drawer over there. And this tube was like the hottest thing, and I paid like $1,600 for a pair of 300Bs, and inside of 2 months the thing blew. It just popped, and it turned out that they had a bad run of tubes, and everybody's blew up, and it was bam, 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 bam. Like, anybody who bought this pair just totally, completely was bumming. And from there I went to the Takatsuki's, but it was a miserable day when it was Elrod. Does that sound right? I think it was Elrod, but it's something sounds off in that name to me. But those tubes, I'm like, I paid so much money for them, and they blew, and the company didn't stand behind them. And that was like, oh my Lord, I'm like, never again. And they came out a couple of years later, they came out with a revision, like a new version of that tube that apparently didn't explode and didn't pop. And I swore I can't support a company that's going to walk away from you after that kind of outlay, and they just completely ignored me. And I'm like, no thank you. So I wound up with the Takatsukis, which were dead on. They've been dead on rock solid, and I had them for a number of years. And then, as you know, an episode, I think it was 22, I got the Western Electric, the new American-built Western Electrics, that they revived. That they built a whole new plant down, I think it was in Georgia, outside of Atlanta maybe, and they produced new versions of the old WE300Bs, and fantastic sound, and they guaranteed them for 5 years, a 5-year warranty on a tube. That's standing by your products. I'm like, that was cool. And I was so excited. And they're doing all sorts of stuff down there. They got new amps, all kinds of stuff coming from that company, and they're not cheap. Everything there is like primo, top of the line stuff. Really exciting. So Adnan, we'll drink to your sorrow, man. I'm sorry, buddy. We've all been there. We've all been there when something drastic goes wrong, and you're left with something that's not very exciting. And now you gotta figure out what you're gonna do for an amp on top of it, you know. Mr. Number One here, how you doing? Third time's a charm for the Carbon. It was, and the Carbon is here. Here's the Carbon right here, and I checked it out, and there's a story behind it. Now, so, you know, I've been dealing with Audeze Direct, because I went down there to drop this off to get this set fixed, and when it came back, obviously, as you saw in the last live show, I opened it up, and there was a screw or something under the mesh here, and it was rattling around. It was like one of those little games we used to play when we were kids, and you try and get the little ball bearing in the hole, you know, like 5 of them, and you know, it's what it felt like. So what happened was, obviously they were not pleased, and they were really apologetic, and they had, you know, they knew it looked bad. There's no way to sugarcoat that. And I also say at the time, look, nobody wants that to happen. Nobody wants that to happen. I mean, if you know, it's like nobody did anything on purpose. It was clearly a mistake and a bad one, and they were really embarrassed by it. So what they did was they sent somebody up here, because I'm only about I'm about 30 miles from there, but that's about 2.5 hours LA traffic, 30 miles. And so they sent somebody up here, and, you know, we kind of got our schedules a little crossed, and it wasn't the smoothest transition, but they did drop off. They actually came up here with two brand new sets of Carbons, and they said you can listen to them and choose which one you want. I said, just give me one of them. like I'm not going to sit here and, you know, I don't have time. There's just not enough hours in the day, and if I doubt there's that much variance between Carbon editions. So, but they gave me a brand new Carbon as a replacement, along with an Audeze hat. So that was kind of nice. So yeah, they were really good about it, and you know, they knew, and it's tough, and I feel for anybody that's, you know, you're doing your best, you're trying to, you know, do something great and stand by your products, and you don't, and then that happens, and it's really embarrassing, and it's sort of like I feel when I put out an episode and I realize there's a jump cut in the middle of it, and I have to make that decision: do I just let this thing ride, or do I fix it because I want the product to be perfect. I want you guys, the end show that you guys see, I want it to be special. And one of the things I try to do is produce episodes that are really tight. And even though they're long, too long for me. So they did, but they came up here, they made it right. I have had a chance to listen to them. I plugged them in. I spent about a night with them, roughly, going through stuff and listening, and they still have the same sonic qualities, which are spectacular. I do think this is one of the best headphones in the world right now. Bar none. Of any type, any form, it is up there in my book, to me. And respect anybody who disagrees, but just of everything I've heard, it's close. It's damn close. It's going to be a contender whenever I get around to my next super shootout and pull all of these great headphones I've been collecting for the last 6 or 7 months into one big episode and sell them all off, because I can't keep all this stuff in house for very long. But I'm excited. The only thing is that, they said that they fixed some of the issues. They cleaned up the issue. They still do have this little stacks fart issue. That's what it's called, folks. I hate to say cheers, everybody. Let's drink to stacks farts. They still have this property where a change in pressure will give you that sort of short out effect. But the big change is that when you move your head, it won't do it anymore. And that was really the hard part of that. They don't, they got to be careful when you're taking them on and putting them off, but you couldn't even move your head fast without getting that short to happen. And I can confirm that, I did a lot of head shaking. I wasn't listening to metal or anything, folks. But it's not as prominent, and it doesn't happen when I'm shaking my head anymore. It does happen when the pressure changes on the cups, though. And this is a remarkable product. I mean, when you look at everything that Audeze has done to date prior, and you look at the headband and the construction, this is the feel of the pads, the comfort on your head. This is so unlike every other Audeze I have. This is the closest in terms of pure comfort, but this is almost like probably 30 or 40% heavier than the Carbon. And the Carbon's not a lightweight, but the XC is great, but it's a heavy product. Now, somebody said that I should replace this band. I do have an extra one sitting around from when I went through the problem with the headband on the LCD5. They sent me a looser headband for that headphone. So I still have the tighter one, which might work with that, but it might make the clamp pressure too much. So, who knows? These are all things we'll deal with long term. I'm just glad I've got the Carbon back, and I'm glad that my cold is gone. That's good, although I'm got a little runny nose now because the air conditioning is blowing right on me. Very hot in Southern California today. Cheers, everybody. How's the weather like where you're at? Because it's hot it's getting up there in LA. We're going to have 100-degree weather before a couple of days or two. So yes, Mr. Number One here. The Carbon is back. It's functioning, and that's the story of how it all went down. And like I said, they clearly were not happy with the events that happened, and they made it right. So what do you should it have happened in the first place? Well, the hardcore antagonists, the people that don't like Audeze and are upset with their the manufacturing and this and that, are going to say, well, it just goes, they're going to point the finger hard. I'm not of that way. I tend to take a more neutral approach to it and say, look, nobody wants this to happen. Yes, it was bad, but yes, they made it right, and they replaced it with a brand new one, and they hand drove it up here, and that says something. Like they're doing something right there. You know, they're really trying hard, and the quality of their products is going up astronomically, but with each version, and I don't think anybody would deny that. If you look at the LCD2 to the LCD5 and look at the construction on each, it's significantly better. So good things there, and we're moving on, and now I'm just listening to more music when I get a chance. I got to get this next episode out, though. I'm so excited about it. All right, let's take a look through the chat a little bit. I hope you all are having a great Wednesday, and any chance okay, so this is from Adam Cardos. He says, any chance you've got a ZMF Atrium review coming anytime? Apologies if it's being asked repeatedly. Oh, a lot of people are interested in that headphone. We'll just have to see what happens. The problem I have with any of this stuff is the expensive stuff when it's new. I gotta buy it if I'm gonna get it. They're not on tour anywhere. There's nobody sending them out. At least I'm not a big enough show where they're just like, Michael, try these out. You know, I'm just not that big enough yet. Although we're 40 subscribers away from 4,000. Oh man, that's so cool. I never thought I'd get anywhere near. I never thought I could get 4,000 people to watch anything I did. So that it's really cool that we're getting up there in the subscribers, and the more that grows, the better chance I've got at getting these things sent to me automatically. You know, Zeos, they send everything to Zeos. They send everything to Headphones, and they've got big channels, big monster channels, and cheers to them. You know, they do great work over there. It's just I'm not big enough yet for them to go, oh, we want to see what Michael will do with this, and you know, we like his B-roll, and maybe he'll shoot nice product shots for us or something. You know? Try and grease the wheels a little bit, you know. No, so I'm just not to that level yet where they're just, you know, wanting to get my opinion on things, and maybe that'll change. It changes, you know, it'll come slowly, and maybe once I hit 10,000 or something, or 5,000, suddenly people will, you know, want to get their headphones into this show, and that's great. And I'm also still playing the resistance game, dealing direct with manufacturers in terms of them sending me something direct from the manufacturer to review, because there's a lot of negativity around bias with reviewers. I think it's dying down finally. It seems like that wave is gone. I haven't heard as much about it, but there were a group of people online that were really flaming reviewers for taking stuff direct from the manufacturer and then giving a glowing review. And they're like, well, you're only giving a glowing review because you're getting the free thing from the manufacturer. It's not free. We got to send it back. But, you know, some people get it for free, I guess. But I certainly don't. And I always try to send it back or pass it on to you. And playing with that bias thing, it's like I think it's dying down a little bit. Maybe I'll start reconsidering that at some point, but I don't take stuff direct from manufacturers. I try to get it from a third-party source like Audio 46, my little semi-partner thing dealer we got going on with them. You know, you can go over there and get 5% off on the headphones using their products, most of their products using our coupon code, save some money there, and then in exchange they send me stuff to review, and I'm not beholden to them because you know, they're just a vehicle, and even if I don't recommend this product, when I'm in the process of reviewing this product, I might recommend some other product that they have. So they don't really care if the review is positive or negative. I mean, we all like a positive review, but there's no like hinge there. There's no like fulcrum on which the whole thing is balanced of needing a biased review, you know, to perpetuate that relationship. They're happy because you guys are going over there and buying stuff, and I'm going over there and buying stuff. I still do. I'm so stupid, but it's good. It's good, and that keeps a layer of insulation between me and the manufacturers. ZMF doesn't deal through a third-party vendor. You have to go through ZMF. And then the other part is if you buy a new headphone, and you all know what happens. You buy the new headphone, you try it out, you're in it for 2 months, and you go to sell it, and it's literally half value. And watching the numbers, ZMF is more prone to that drop off in price on resale than a lot of other manufacturers. Like if you look at the resale on the Carbon is reselling at like $3,600, about $1,000 off. If you look at what the actual sales of those ZMF models are, it's like half or less. The resale on them, except for, I think the closed is one that is holding some value, but it's tough. And I'm like, man, you just have to know that you're going to lay out $2,000 or $3,000, and if you go to resell it, you're going to eat a large chunk of money. So it's like I always am trying to find something used and go that route, because it does save cash, and this show needs to save some cash at some point. All right, burping from the soda. How are you all doing? What are you drinking? Elrog, that's the one I was looking for. Thank you, Adam Cardos. You win a toast. Toast to Adam Cardos for coming up with Elrog. That was the manufacturer. I'm like, Elrod, Elroy, meet George Jetson. It was one of those tube manufacturers, and they screwed me. Ryan Dietz, cheers. Cheers to you. You're eating barbecue. What's the sauce? What's the sauce? You can't hang us out there saying I'm eating barbecue chicken and like make us feel like, oh, we're not as cool as you, because we're not. But what's the sauce, buddy? You got to give us the sauce. It's not a true like brag unless you can tell us, drop some major sauce on us. What is it? Adnan, thanks so much. Hey man, cheers to you. I love Adnan. Adnan shows up every week. Great contributor to the channel. So is Good Pixels. What was that tube company name that did that? That was Elrog. That was Elrog. Good Pixel. Mr. Number One here said he heard PS Vane is pronounced Puvane. Puvane? Okay, it could be. I just called him PS Vane because that's what it looks like. That's how it reads. PS Vane, Puvane, Puvane, whatever they want to call them, I don't like their tubes. Their tubes, I've had like a couple of their tubes in here, and I had the 181, which is a silver job, and it was crunchy. Like it probably would have been great for metal, listening to metal music, but for like if you're looking for a pristine whatever, and I was using the drivers, it's the replacement driver for the 6SN7 tube on the driver tubes. I'm using tungsten round plate on that amp right now, and they're beautiful drivers. They were expensive. Not as expensive as the 300Bs though, so I shouldn't complain, but the PS Vane 181s were not good tubes. Like I tried over and I was hyped on them. I thought they were exciting and cool tubes. I wound up selling them. I did not. They had this crunchy quality to them and it wasn't like a defective tube. It was like that's just the way they sound, and they would easily push like a little grain into the signal, and it really was unappealing to me, especially on cleaner sounding music. Not good at all. Nice to avoid a lawsuit. Well, yeah, for Elrog. Elrog, and they're like a German company, they're out of the country. You're never going to get, I tried to go through their, tried to get a hold of their customer service, whatever, and it was like, good luck trying to call Germany and figure out where the hell it is they're being manufactured. Am I going to Can Jam Chicago, says Mr. Portnoy. Not in the plans right now. I'm a Chicago boy. I'm from Chicago. I was just in Chicago in December for a personal matter. It wasn't nothing exciting. And I don't know if I'll be going back right away. And I don't have business to take care of at another Can Jam. I can just wait for the next one in LA. It's coming up in like a couple of months, so there's really not a major point for me to go back there to see something that I'm, and LA is a big Can Jam. There's always new releases just before it, so I know that I'll get some really good content out of LA, and I can just drive there. I don't have to fly. It's like, and you know, I need a vacation at some point too. I've been on this turntable. I've been going around this turntable for a good couple of years now without a break. I could use a little vacation that's not headphone or otherwise related. Just get out and see the world. Nephilim81, Amos Kerwong is a terrific, honest reviewer. Oh, Kerwong. I like Kerwong. Man, and he's technical, dude. You're right. You're dead on there. That guy is... he is like 10 times the reviewer I could ever hope to be. And I tip my hat to him. And he's fascinating to watch. He's always got great takes on stuff. I am a more practical reviewer. I tell you how things sound to me, and I try to put it in entertaining terms and give you great B-roll and shots of stuff. And I'm more like, you know, the guy who just thinks it's cool, and I'm like, this is what I like about it, this is what I don't like about it, you know, that kind of thing. And then what music goes well with it, that's my sort of angle on things. And Kerwong's like, well, you know, the diode at the, you know, I'm like, oh my god, he knows too much, So yeah, I think Kerwong is like absolutely perfect as far as a reviewer. It's like he does great content. He's probably my favorite of all of them because he cuts with a lot of the nonsense and kind of just goes like straight at it. It's pretty cool the way he does it. Whereas I add all the nonsense because I'm quirky. Good Pixel Production says, any chance you had a listen to the modded Hifiman RE7JM edition for $200? Stay tuned. No promises, but stay tuned. Stick with me on that one. Things are happening in that regard. That's what I can tell you. Chris NYC says, Chris, where's the Rangers logo, dude? Are you? What happened? It's like I don't even know who you are without the Rangers. It was meant to be Pavane, but they typoed the formulation doc and just kept it. Well, okay, that happens. Pavane. That's actually a pretty good little piece of trivia right there. I like that. That's really cool. I learned some trivia today, some really cool stuff about Die Hard that I never heard before. Like Gene Hackman was originally cast in that and didn't do the picture for some reasons. But I love trivia like that. That's actually really interesting. I like that. Cheers, Chris. Cheers to Chris. Chris always has good stuff. Nephilim81. Anybody here PSVing Gold Note Series tubes from Felix Audio Tube Amps? No, I have not. And I haven't heard any of the Felix stuff. Love to someday, maybe. Why not? Ryan Dietz is finally getting back to us on his barbecue adventure, and he had to step away for a few minutes. It actually had dry rub instead of sauce. Dude, I love a good dry rub, but it ain't barbecue without the barbecue sauce, okay? That's what I'm telling you right now. So, and there wasn't a new announcement out of Munich. I didn't see anything that popped that was new from the Munich audio show. And that I was hoping that we would get something from somebody. And there has not been new announcements of any product, and that was kind of a shame. I thought that we would see something, you know, from one of the manufacturers would pony up some change. Well, I'm going to tell you about the music that I've been listening to because it's been in my head. You know how you get, what's it called when you have the same loop of music playing over and over in your head? There's a term for that, and I just heard it the other day. And then I also heard a way to get out of it, but it was on one of the YouTube shows. Elvis Costello has been the guy that I've been listening to constantly lately. I just took a deep dive through his catalog as I was going through the thing with the Carbon, and I was here some late nights, you know, had to write some emails back and forth and whatever, and I had Elvis Costello constantly playing for like the last little bit, and just what a songwriter. Like I mean I know his popular stuff. I like, you know, I know the super popular stuff, Veronica and you know, Radio and Allison, and you know, the big Every Day I Write the Book, all of that stuff. But man, I fell into is it Hungry Like a Rose? Something Like a Rose. I'm so out of it today. I'm not as out of it as last week, but L, come on. Elvis Costello. Albums. I'm going to find this. I can't. Mighty Like a Rose. That's what it is. Mighty Like a Rose. And that album is so good. And like, it gets no love. Rune like gives it like 2 stars and says it's like, this is like Elvis desperate for. I'm like, are you kidding me? This is like visionary. Go listen to that record sometime tonight, and I'm telling you, it's unbelievable. Like, I was so impressed by that record, Mighty Like a Rose, Elvis Costello, 1991 album, and there are songs in there. There's a song Like Candy on there that is like so dark and cool. I'm like, man, I've been totally digging on Elvis Costello for like the last week. My wife thinks I'm crazy. She doesn't like singer-songwriters that much. Like, her worst nightmare is Bob Dylan, who I just think is the shit. She can't. She just does not like any of those singer-songwriters. So she's like looking at me like I'm crazy in the car. But I'm like, listen to these turns and listen to all the parts of these songs that he's throwing together, and they're so. You wouldn't think that this part and that part would go together, and yet he finds a way to blend. And then he'll throw in like a 7th chord at the like at the weirdest moment. I'm like, oh my God, it just turned the whole thing blue. It was amazing. It's just, there are some amazing turns. He is a masterful songwriter, one of the best ever. He's married to Diana Krall, which, I mean, I can't imagine if they had kids. I don't know if they've had kids. Do they have kids? I can't imagine what that household must be like to have that much talent under one roof, because they're both unbelievable songwriters, and she's like one of the best singers ever, and he's like one of the best producers ever. So, whoa. And he's produced like McCartney. I mean, that's how good this dude is. So I've been on the Elvis Costello kick for like a week, and I've got all his songs just like looping through my head. It's crazy. Ryan's following up. He's sticking with the dry rub argument. Ryan, don't argue with the dry. You got to come with the sauce, man. Give me a good sauce. Okay. Nephilim 81, amazing technical subculture behind tube rolling, kind of growing on him. I took those deep dives. And I had to get to a point. Here's the problem: is like Nephilim, you can wind up spending more on tubes than you did on the amp. You know, like, because you're constantly like searching and like, is this quite the right sound? And I've got a bin full of tubes of stuff that I've just like, and I'm like, I had to give up at some point. I had to decide on like, this is good enough and really good at that. Like, these are really good sounding tubes, and yes, there may be better out there, but it's going to dry. I'm literally going to pop a vein through my head, vein. That was bad. Through my head if I continue down this tube path. So I picked really good tubes, and then I just like, I can't do this anymore because you'll just break yourself. There's so much out there in the tube world, and they get so expensive. So Nephilim's considering getting a transformer coupled tube amp like Moon Audio's Dragon. IHA. Well, I don't know that tube amp myself, but Moon is like one of those great, you know, they're like, it's a company I'm thinking of. Oh, Holly's coming in. Holly wants to come in. Hang on a second, folks. Holly, do you have enough of the heat out there? You want to come on camera? Come on, buddy. Say hi to your many fans. Holly, everybody. Oh, he's a good boy. Oh, he's got the devil eyes. I love it when the light catches your eyes, bud. You're the best. I mean, there's some great tube products out there. Woo has my heart because that industrial design is fantastic. I think somebody finally, we talked weeks ago, if you remember, like 4 or 5 weeks ago, I told you that there was a Cavalli liquid fire on Headphone that kept circulating through the classifieds. And that's like one of the best tube amps, like one of the best tube amps. That the Dark Star, well, Dark Star is solid state. Never mind that. Put a pin in that. But the liquid fire was sitting there circulating at $2,100, and I'm like, somebody gonna get a good deal when that. But I think somebody PM'd him finally. I got an update on that the other day. But what an amp! Like, there's some great tube amps out there. But I just have always leaned toward Woo because, first of all, I like Jack. I like his company, and I love their industrial design. Is just like drool. It's a drool. Like that. Their amps are amazing. How we doing, everybody? Cheers. We are halfway through what has been a very intense week, and I think part of it is that from my end, headphone shows and whatever aside, on weeks before we go into a holiday weekend, we have to do 6 shows. We have to do an extra show because the Monday show is always pre-taped because it costs too much to bring us all in. So we're actually trying to jam through 6 shows this week. And Monday on ET, you'll see all of my Top Gun stuff from San Diego. They're going to re-air it and put in a nice Top Gun. I got tickets. I'm going Saturday. I'm going to go see Top Gun. I'm so excited. So excited to see that movie. Going to Universal Studios at Universal City. And I got the big, huge, comfy recliner chair. We're going to get the bucket of popcorn, the gallon-sized Coke, and we're just going to sit there and just suck in that movie. I can't wait. It looks so good. Everybody is saying that's the movie to see. It's like a return to good old-fashioned Hollywood popcorn movie with great nostalgia. I'm like, I'm in. So going to that. Ryan Dietz. Let's go to Ryan. He thinks the new RAL Circumoral were shown at Munich, as well as Meze openbacks. I didn't hear about anything new from Meze. What's the Meze openback? Anybody? Oh, Adam, again with the info. Adam, you need to get your own show. The Meze 109 openback dynamic is probably the most interesting for the price. Looking forward. Well, me too. I mean, I'm a Meze fan, and the Elite has been a constant travel partner with me lately. I've grown in appreciation. That was a headphone that, like, I thought, well, it's better than the Empyrean, for sure, but I didn't know if it was like, could it compete in that top level? And now I'm convinced it does compete in the top level. I think it's a terrific headphone, and my appreciation for the Elite grows by the week. I find myself reaching for those maybe more than any other headphone. Tells you something. Because I got my choice there. I've got a Susvara sitting here. I've got the 1266 TC, the LCD5. I've got HCA20. I've got Focal, Utopia. I got great headphones here, and the Elite is getting a lot of head time right now. Head time in the headphone world. Who knew? RAL. Yeah, I don't know about the RAL. What do you guys think of the RAL? Somebody chime in about the RAL. I've heard them in a show, and I'm like, it's a cool trick. It's a party trick, but it's a party trick that I'm like, I'm gonna get done with this in about 2 days. Like I'm like, it's neat and everything, but it's not something that I want to revisit. It's like it's a cool trick, but I'm not like, I don't think it's like my end game. You know, what is that? Somebody defend the RAL position, if you would. I want to know what you guys, and I don't mean that from like, you know, like an adversarial thing. Like, what do you see in it that maybe I'm missing? Because I'm like, I just like, it doesn't quite jump on me, you know. Ryan Dietz says, yeah, looks good. Both DMS and Andrew liked it apparently. Okay. Well, Meze hasn't. You know, they've gotten complaints about their headphones being slow, and I have nagged on them for the pricing on some of their stuff. I felt like it was a little overpriced. In some cases, a lot overpriced. But I can't complain about, like, their build quality is second to none, and their tuning. Meze's tuning is maybe at the top of the field right now. Like, they're not technically, I don't think they're technically as advanced as Hifiman or Abyss or Focal on a pure technical level, but they've got great ears over there, and they tune their gear to perfection. Like, they do the best tunings, I think, of any of the headphone manufacturers. So I'll say that. If they both like something, that's usually a winner. Yeah. DCS finally brought their Lena setup to market. Oh, that's cool. He's going to hear one at his local DCS dealer when his dealer gets one in, the one he ordered. Okay. Very cool. ML Jenkins is going to go check out the Lena. Very cool. Ryan Dietz DMS said the raw was bright, but really resolving. Yeah, that whole setup just doesn't quite... Mr. Number One here, how much did the WE300B tubes cost you, and are they per tube or per pair? They were per pair, and they were, I want to say, 16 to 1800. Let's see, they may have jumped in price because of the, you know, shipping and all that. Let's take a look. WE Western Electric, maybe? WesternElectric.com, and I can go to, they've got a new amp though, the 91E integrated. It looks like dudes, but I think it's like 15 grand. Fantastic. Buy 300B vacuum tube. It is pair for 1500. So good price on those. Good price on those, and I think that they sound like that much better than the Takatsukis, which were the king of the hill for a long time. And given that they are so they're getting such a backing, a 5-year warranty on that tube. It's a no-brainer for me. Like, why would you not take advantage of that single tube, $700, matched pair for $1,500, and a 5-year tube warranty, dude? That's just insane. How great is that? Yes, Nephilim agrees. Tube rolling can get so expensive and overhyped. It's fun to do, but it's like I think the thing of this is that you're playing with that last 5 or 10%. But and I guess let's say this in English. If you're buying a $500 tube and you're going to compare it to a $1,500 tube, yeah, there's going to be a pretty good jump in sound there. Like, the $500 tube can do some really bad things. But to me, it's like once you get to the EML, the Emission Labs products and up, you're playing with about 10% of sound. Like, you're really not, you're not going to squeeze out that much more past the EMLs. The EMLs are great tubes, and they sound really good. They really know what they're doing over there, and they built tubes that are like tanks. They last forever. So I've never had an EML tube fail on me, and they're gorgeous and everything. So I'm like, you're probably just fine to just buy the EML and be done with it. If you want to play in the higher field, I would say, you know, then look for somebody who's going to stand by their stuff, because you're getting that warranty. It's like you're locked, and they're an American company. They're not going to hide. There's nowhere to hide. And any question I had, like they're like right there. They pick up the phone when you call them. You know, that's that's the company you want to be doing business with, right? It's like Audeze. It's like I was just talking about that. It's like, if I can pick up the phone or send off an email and in 24 hours I've got an answer and a potential solution, yeah, okay. You know, I'm sorry that there was a problem at all, but at least you're standing by your stuff and you're right there with customer service. There you go. Okay, Adnan. Let's go to Adnan saying, the guy who was selling the liquid fire is an amazing gentleman. He's Joey, works for HSBC. Very trustworthy. Oh, well, let's drink to him. Because I'm always looking for a reason to drink. Do we really need a reason to drink, guys? Don't tempt me to go pull out the Guinness, because I might. But I got to write something after this, so I'm trying to keep my mind a little on the more sharp side. But that liquid fire is an amazing product, an amazing deal for somebody. What a great amp. I've heard it many times. It's the shit. The 109 will be 700 IRC. $700 is where they should have put the Lyric. Honestly, like that's. I can even go like 1,000. Like to me, like the Lyric is a perfect $1,000 headphone. It's like at $2,000. I'm like, is this really like in line? Is it really a 2,000? Like, it just, the construct, you know, it's just everything about it, just like, it's like a really fancy Bose is what it feels like. It doesn't feel like a $2,000 headphone. It sounds great though. I gotta admit, the sound on those things was great. I just was like, it's great at $1,000 or $700. Maybe am I whining? Somebody tell me I'm whining out there. Nephilim81 is recommending Vangelis Juno to Jupiter. Okay, I'll check that out. I don't know what that one is. The final album from an incredible legend. I will check that out. Another beautiful listen. I'm in it. I'll be in it to win it. Adnan Raul SR81. Hopefully this is phenomenal timbre. Okay, superb technicalities, but requires EQ to really enjoy it. Timid bass. Yeah, that's gonna be. That's tough. That's the struggle with the LCD5 for me. Is like the bass is just I just wish it had a little bit of nudge down there. It just needs a little something, and that would be a perfect headphone. I still like. I just want to like go. Are you listening, Audeze? If you gave me a bassy LCD5, like retune it and give me something that's, because I know they want that to be like the reference standard. I know that LCD5 is supposed to be the reference standard, and it's something that they want people to mix on. I get it. It's like they want it for the control room. That's kind of that's the lane they drop that headphone into. I want them to do a fun version for those of us who just want to enjoy the headphone, because the technicals on that headphone are so spectacular, and the design and everything about it is so great. Just give me the bass, tune in the bass, tune up the bass, and you can do it through EQ, I suppose, but I'd like to hear it natural that way. Call me crazy. So if you have to EQ Summitfy, I'm not interested. Yeah, and I don't, you know, and I we've talked on the show before. I won't bore you with the whole EQ bit, but it's, yeah, I agree. Adam, we're thinking alike. I'm like, I want to plug it in, and it should sound great. And you know, this is a great sound. Like, it's great. I would maybe like make them a little less bright in the lower treble area. That's kind of like this little weakness, but I can put these on, and I'm not like I can't listen to this. And listen to that music. Boy, we got some nice music playing today. Great jazz. But this is a spectacular sound. Like, this to me is a steal at $1,200. That's my best closed back right now, I think. And I would put the lyric like right up against it if the lyric wasn't, you know, $800 more expensive than that. It's like, oh man, come on. Help me out, Meze. Help me help you. Abdullah, welcome Abdullah. Cheers to Abdullah. Hey buddy, what do you think about the R9 compared to the Fostex TH900 closed? Well, I don't have the X900 or the TH900 closed, and I've never had the 900 Mark II, and I would love to get them in. That's a headphone that I think is righteous. I will tell you though, you know, it's twice the price, so you know, the THX00 series I've raved about constantly on this show, which was the Fostex Mass Drop collab. And I tell everybody, if you see those up and they're, you know, if you find a pair for $300, $350 or something like that, especially if you can find like the Purple Heart and your bass head, you like the bass, like suck it up. Yeah, grab it, because it's such a spectacular headphone, and even today it's fantastic. And the R9 is like right in that lane. It's the real deal. I don't know where I put them. Oh, they're up on the shelf over there. They're great. It's a great headphone. I've super enjoyed those. And I just did the review on them in the, was it last episode before last? So, I can't compare them to the 900. I've never had the 900 here. An Audio 46 could probably send me a pair, surprise me with a pair at some point if they wanted to. Because they carry them and they're in-house. It's an older headphone now. So, is it relevant today? I don't know. There's very few headphones that can, 5 years later you're going, wow, and I own two of them, Utopia and the Shure, both fantastic. Adam Cardos, Ryan, so $500 in 2020 is dollary dues. What does that mean? I missed something. I like the sentiment though, Adam. Not sure what you're talking about. Good Pixel Productions. Mike, any chance you got to open the $200 Hifiman HE7 OCD Stealth Extreme modded by JM? No. I haven't gotten to open the $200 Hifiman HE7 OCD Stealth Extreme modded version by JM. And I thank you for the humor. That's awesome. But stay tuned for JM stuff. I'm just saying. There might be something in your lane coming up in the future weeks. Nephilim81, great advice. Thanks for the hearing tube suggestions. Yeah, I like hearing all suggestions and tell you, what I think. Like my first tube amp when I first started this was the WA6, which you can pick up for like, I don't know, $500-600 from Woo, and there was only a 3-tube arrangement, but the big tube that you had in there was you had the, I'll never forget it. What's the tube, kids? The U5 4G, the 274 rectifier tube, and the Sophia Electric was like the first Sophia tube, or the first like high-end tube that I bought. And I listened to that and I thought, man, that's really awesome. Like the difference between the stock PS Vane, Pa Vane tube and the Sophia was spectacular. And then I jumped from Sophia to the EML labs and I was like, whoa, that's another jump. So, but I love that little tube amp. It just couldn't drive the Sennheiser HD 800 because that was the headphone that I bought. I was using it on the HD 650, and then I bought the 800 and it just couldn't drive it. So that's when I wound up with the WA5 situation. That was very expensive, but I found it used and then I upgraded it. Mr. Number One here. Imagine buying the Susvara and the EF1000 plus 6 WE300Bs to replace the stock tubes. It's like $22,500 or $25,500 without the discount. Damn. Well, you know, and look at, you know, look at some of these amps from Woo. Like they've got a $16,000 amp, not including the tubes. You know, I'm like, oh, like it can get crazy in a hurry. And I keep you know, we've been talking loosely, Dan DiAugustino, the last couple of weeks. I'm like, I look at that $40,000 amp and I'm like, oh man, can you imagine? What do you do? 40 grand on a tube amp, on a solid state amp, 40 grand. It's got to sound good. You know it's going to sound good. But you haven't heard, you know. And the same thing, you know, the HE1, you know, Sennheiser's like, well, why don't you spend 50 grand and get that? It's like, well, then what do you do? Now you've got that. It's like that's all you're ever going to have. It's this show would get very short if I bought an HE1, because it's like that's the only thing I would tune in every week after week, and I go, and what can I say about the HE1 this week? Because we'd be done. There's nowhere to go. Adam Cardo says, Michael, if you use the integrated Audeze presets, formerly known as Reveal, in Room, the LCD XC, you'll get that last little 10% of tuning you're maybe seeking. Okay, now the Reveal app. Now I got that. I downloaded the Reveal app and I put it onto my Mac setup here, but they didn't have any tunings for the LCD5. And I was like, oh, that's your flagship. And they certainly didn't have any tunings for the Carbon, which was even, you know, just as new. So I haven't played with it, and you know, keep in mind these are maybe a month old now. I've only had these for a month, and enjoying them. I'm really enjoying them. So I'll have to go back and check out that. And thanks for reminding me of this stuff, because you know that's part of it. Is like I get so. You know, this isn't my life. This isn't, you know, doing headphones and stuff isn't my whole life. I've got a regular job that keeps me busy, and I've got this show that I'm trying to get out every week and trying to keep it clever and fun and interesting. Hopefully I hit one of those 3 marks like every 3rd episode. Fun, entertaining, interesting. And I can't always keep up on the latest stuff, and like I've had people point out to me like, hey, you could do this and it would be a lot better. And I'm like, I'm so open for that. I'm not one of these guys that's like, I know the right way and my way is the only way. It's like, if you see something that I'm doing in any of these videos and you're like, hey, try it this way, you might get a better result. Yeah, tell me, because I'm like, okay. I don't mind. I have no shame. I have no shame in admitting when I did something. What was it? Oh, there's an Easter egg in the upcoming video. At one point, I actually listened to part of an audition with the headphones on backwards. Like, was cutting it. And I'm like, those headphones are on backwards. I just was, you know, I was in the moment and grabbed the headphones, put them on, listened to a little bit more, and did something, grabbed them and put them on backwards. I'm like, let's see if anybody catches that. Yeah, it happens. Thanks, Mike. A must try with any headphone is Camille Thurman Road Song. Okay, it's on the list. I you know, and you guys know I go back through the chat and I write down these things. I've got, you know, when I'm off the air, because it's so cool. I love recommendations. I love new music. I'm a music nerd first, more than I am a headphone nerd. The headphones, this is a vehicle for the music. The music to me matters more. It always will. F81, glad to see you're appreciative of the LCD XCs. I think they're the best headphones in their pipeline. I think is an amazing tank. I mean, headphone, yeah. Nephilim, I agree with you. I think that for $1,200, at least in the closed back varietal, you know, let's make that stipulation. Because I think there are some open backs that might give this a run for the money. Sorry, burping. Cheers to a Wednesday. Those of you tuning in late, welcome. Always glad to have you guys here. Tip your waiters and waitresses. Thank the band. I'll have the band introduce themselves on the way out. I love it. This is like our little bar. We're like hanging out. It's so fun. Yeah, this is a good headphone. And the XC is righteous. I mean, there's a part of me, you know, as much as like people say, well, you put these on and they're, you know, they get heavy after a while. We still got music going. Good. They get heavy after a while. And I'm like, part of me likes a weighty headphone in some way. It makes me feel like I've got like, I've got a beefy, it's an experience. You're getting more of an experience with it. Now, is it preferable to have kind of a lighter weight one? Yeah, I guess, but I like a headphone that's got a little meat to it, that feels like something, like I got something for my money. And these sound really good. I'm like, this has been a good ride. I've actually enjoyed these a great deal. I'm trying to think of like if there's a closed back. I still like the 820s, and I know I'm in like there's a party of three in that regard. But I like the 820s. I like this. I like the tonality of the 820s. It's just got the wonky sound stage, but I can appreciate a wonky sound stage. Kind of fun. But these are more reference, but they've got bass. They've got good bass, and righteous. I'm a huge fan of these. And I'll probably spend some more. I just haven't had a lot of listening time this week because I've been trying to get the episode out and get my day job done. So it's like not sitting. It's hard to sit here and have music playing while I'm trying to write a script. My focus has got to be on point. All right, so let's go back to the chat here and say, let's see, ML Jenkins, haha, enough. Yes. The tank comment it's appropriate. You can't deny it. The thing is heavy. It's a big, weighty, meaty headphone, and I like it very much. Nephilim 81, Michael, if you were in the market to buy a tube amp for headphones, price no object, what are you going to take besides the WA33? Well, that's the first one that comes to mind, right? That would be, yeah. Because I've got the WA5LE and it's a great amp. So yeah, that would be the next one. The Wells, I haven't spent a lot of time with Wells, but everybody's telling me that the Wells audio stuff is something you gotta hear. So I would defer to what I've read and heard, that the Wells should be something that on everybody's short list to listen to if you're into tubes. That would make sense. Some great gear out. There's just great. We're in a really good time. Like, even the stuff that's not great is still pretty good. Does that make sense? Like, there's not a lot out there that you buy and you go, well, that's just bad. Like, it's like, it may not be my preference or whatever, but it's like stuff is getting made really well right now, and it's like they're perfecting, but there's a lot of really good product out there right now. We're in a great era for headphone listening, and I don't know if it's ever been stronger in the history of audio. So we should take a moment and appreciate that there are, first of all, there's like 8 great mainstream manufacturers right now. You think of Sennheiser and Meze and Audeze and Hifiman and ZMF, and there are great Fostex, all Focal. We've not had this many like high-end manufacturers cranking out such great product, and that's before we even get to the IEMs. And the IEMs are where the excitement is in the hobby. If you're like, that's where the biggest gains are being made, product to product. You know, you hear that Timeless, and you're like, where did that come from, and how are they doing that in an in-ear? You know, for that price. You know, it's a really good era for headphones. We're all very, very lucky. And yeah, the bass slam on the X, and you know I'm a little bit of a bass head. Guilty. I like good bass. I like strong bass. I would rather have more bass than less bass, and let me deal with it. Like, I'd rather have the problem of, wow, that's a lot of bass, than that's really not enough bass. Because there's ways to get around the too much bass. It's hard to manufacture good bass. So that's why I appreciate the Abyss so much. And I appreciate... I still want to get... there's a part of me that still wants an LCD4 in here. Because of that bass slam and that legendary bass slam. And it's just a question of, should I try and find a... and I'll put it out there as... maybe I should do it as a poll. Should I get an LCD4Z, or should I go OG and get one of the first LCD4s before the redesign with the flat plate on the side? What do you think, guys? Let me know. We'll put it out there just for shits and giggles, as they used to say. What do you think? The R9 right now are $369 in Hifiman, a new wired version. Yeah, go for it. You're not going to be disappointed. I mean, it's just not, I know that, look, I have to like go, well, rich people problems, right? In some level, because like I've got all these high-end headphones over here, but as far as like $369 now, that's just a drop in the bucket. Like that's such like, go do it. Like, for that kind of money, like, worst case scenario, if you hate the R9 at $369, you'll turn around and sell them for $300 and you spent $70 to get an experience. Well, guess what that is? That's like a trip to the movies with popcorn and all the shit, So you got a couple of days of entertainment for $70, and you got to pass them on to somebody else. Worst case scenario, or go find them used on in the classifieds and pay $300 for them, and then in which case you're probably going to lose $0 on them. It's like, it doesn't hurt you to check out stuff when it drops to that level of price, and that's a headphone with slam, my friends. That's genuine slam. Like, that's a situation where you go, well, this is probably too much bass, but I like it. It really is too much bass, but I like it. It's only rock and roll, but I like it. Somebody once wrote that. Glimmer Twins. Nephilim86, he was shocked that the XCs actually have bass slam. Yes, they do. The XCs are Audeze's flagship closeback for almost 10 years now, and for a good reason. And that's a good point. That's a really good point. Now, they've updated them significantly, I think, since that original. These are nothing like your grandparents' Audeze LCD XCs. Picture your grandpa, with the bald head and like, oh, I'm going to listen to me some opera. That was bad. That was really bad. I'm sorry, your resident idiot comes through again with the bad dad jokes. Adam Carlos, almost say you'd get better bang for your buck with an LCD 2 closed over the XC, but they need that reveal plug-in desperately. Okay. Well, I haven't heard the LCD 2 closed. I got to defer to Adam on this. I haven't heard it. I have heard these, and I'm thrilled with them. I'm thrilled. That's what they brought. And they let me listen to these at the factory, and they had some killer amps there, and I didn't take time to note what their amps were, because they had some good stuff. They had the Ferrum, they had some really good amps in their amp room, in their listening room, and I listened to one amp, and I've been trying to find it because I want to figure out what it was, and I didn't pay close enough attention. I was a bad reporter that day. I was too awash in checking out their factory process, and they were kept handing me like, the LCD4Z. Ryan says the OG4. Okay, well, I may find it, but you may find me picking up one of those used for the fun of it. I'm definitely down for the experience, that's for sure. And I've become a fan of Audeze stuff. I'm like, the more I've listened to it, they weren't down. I was a Hifiman guy for a long time, and like, especially in those, for probably the better part of 8 years, and I still love their stuff. Love the Susvara, and I think that I said this before, the HE1000 V2 is one of the best headphones ever made, ever, and it still is like right up there. But Audeze's really shown me some stuff. I've really been impressed with what I've heard recently. Big fan, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with being a fan of whatever it is you like listening to. Adam Cardos. Okay, so we did that. Nephilim, the troublemaker attitude about the XCs is that they're so critical with recordings. Poorly mastered stuff doesn't stand a chance, like the HD800's little brother. That's actually a pretty good point. And that's why source matters so much. Pardon. And that's why I'm such a source nerd, and the files, even the files on HD tracks, it's like they're not all alike. I found like a couple of different versions of something for sale, and I'm like, they're not the same. Like, they're different masterings, and you can get a shit mastering that's got good technicals, but it's still a shit mastering. I wrote this down. I was talking to somebody about the Talking Heads the CD mastering of Once in a Lifetime of Remain in Light. And on Once in a Lifetime, it's like the record has this amazing panning going on. It's like the toms sit at 10 and 2 and they alternate, and it sets up the imbalance of the song. And you know how it's kind of these sonic waves coming at you, and part of that effect comes from where they put the toms in the mix. And when the CD came out, they center panned the toms, and they completely destroyed that recording. It lost all its liveliness. And yeah, that's something that I to this day, like, bad masterings, and I can give you literally tons of examples of really bad mastering jobs. From the Black Crowes vinyl releases a couple years ago, whoever mastered that should just, like, they should be ashamed of it, because they destroyed phenomenal albums. And, you buy the vinyl because you want the vinyl experience or whatever, and then you hear like this totally horrible mastering job where nobody paid attention to where any of the instruments were in the mix, and everything's kind of like all over the place, and they're nowhere near as sorted as those original tracks, and those guys spent a lot of time on those mixes. And I'm a big fan of the Black Crowes, especially that Southern Harmony album and the Amorca record, and the vinyl releases of those from a couple years ago were atrocious. Just atrocious. Like, buy them, put them on the headphone, it's like, this is the deadest mix I've ever, like, complete crap. Such a shame that people are mixing stuff that slipshod and not paying attention to placement and space between the instruments and all the things that the original mastering engineer, earned his money doing well. That's a shame. I hate that. That drives me crazy to hear a bad mastering job. So yeah, and headphones, and I guess there's a case for headphones that are more forgiving. Give me that Fostex THX00. It makes pretty much anything sound great. But But it doesn't have the technicals of some of the other headphones. So, but yeah, and people are using this. I've told this story a couple of times now on the show. Audeze told me people are using this to mix their concerts. It's a concert mixing tool, and that tells you, they're accurate. They're going to give you what's there with good bass. Just a little bright, just a bright, just a skosh bright. The LCD4 is a great headphone if you can find them for $2,000 or less. Yeah, I've seen them for in the $2,200 range. It's just been, for me, it's like, do I want to go with the 4Z and find a used 4Z? Because the 4Z is lighter, but I hear that there's something a little extra special about the original 4s. What do you think of the Sony Z1R if you like bass? Refresh my memory. The Z1R is the in-ear, correct? I believe it's the in-ear, and I've had those. I didn't like the tuning of the Z1R. I definitely didn't like the feel of the Z1R. Somebody sent me those for an in-ear. It was, I was like, I get what people like about this headphone. Not for me though. It just didn't do it for me. Nephilim Michael, you've got the power. Get the 200 ohm. Will I get a YouTube strike for that incredible rendition of "I've got the power"? I'd love to see that happen. I was so accurate in my singing that I tripped the YouTube algorithm. Get the 200 ohm LCD 4s over the 4Z. Way better build quality. Okay. I mean, I'll look for them. And I know, like, the telltale is the outer plate, right? It's a chrome outer plate on the originals, and then the new one have kind of the LCD 5-ish grill on the outside. That's the difference, I think. Driver in the Z1R is just beautiful, and I think it's the largest driver in a headphone. Oh, the Z1R must be the over-ear Sony. What am I thinking of? What's the in-ear Sony? Oh, there is an in-ear and an over. It's the same damn model. Well, that's confusing. Thanks, Sony, for nothing. What is with people? Why do they do that? Why don't you call one the Z1 IEM or the it's so stupid. Sony, please. And they know better. They know better. Walkman. The inventor of the Walkman. The Walkman couldn't have come up with a better name. They're still using it. And they should. Z1R. In-ear or an over-ear. Please. Please. Yes. And Nephilim says he's a source nerd too. AC regeneration. I haven't gotten down to that level, but I'm not one that says that the vinyl version is the ultimate version automatically. There are recordings that are the digital, they just did better. Like they took what was done and they brought it to the next level. I think for sonic quality, this is going to be so controversial. Somebody out there is just going to throw something at their screen. For sound quality, the remix of Sgt. Pepper's is really impressive for sound quality. It doesn't sound right because the balance and the way he spaced everything is so different from my familiarity with the record. But it sounds like a modern record the way that Giles remixed that record. And I don't mind. And Strawberry Fields is way better. The new mix is way better than any other version of it. That I'll say. I'll stand by that because it just, the mix is great and the sound quality is great and everything about the release. And I think they did that remix in like 2017 or was it 2016, the year before they did the full Pepper remix. But like, there's something to be said about that. But the actual mix themselves, and then everybody says the mono version is the ultimate version of that album. But I'm still, it's like, I grew up in a stereo world. I didn't grow up in a mono world, so it's hard for me to jump to mono. But I can appreciate the mono. There's more effects on the mono stuff for the Beatles, which kind of makes it interesting. But yeah, mastering's everything. Mastering is everything at the end of the day. Great album, mastered like hell. What are you doing? Really old Cobb says he can't really change instrument placement in a remaster. May have been a remix. Well, and that's what I'm talking about. Like, I guess I've swapped the term, and I'm talking about these remixes where they go back. I think the industry swaps those terms liberally. I don't think that they actually play that careful with that term, and they'll say they remastered it, and what they did was they remixed it, and or they came out with a remaster for vinyl, which was a remix for vinyl, and they played it so safe because of phantom things like the needle skipping question. They tuned the bass way down, and they wrecked the recording. Another example would be the remixes of Dark Side of the Moon. It was the anniversary, the 25th anniversary. I think it was 2018 was the 25th anniversary, and they came out with that. It was a whole new, like, they actually changed the jacket from the traditional black with the prism and the rainbow going through it, and they put like blue speckled cover on the album, which that should have been my first sign that things were going terribly wrong from the beginning. And while the song sounded actually pretty good, everything about that album, what's cool is the way the album flows together, the way it's stitched together, and every transition, it's like you can hear the transition happening. You can hear them manipulating the transition as it's occurring. And it sounds it's like it calls attention to itself at the transition point. And I'm like, you blew it. Like that album is horrible. The vinyl of that record is like any old version of the of Dark Side will surpass it because it flows better. Nephilim81 loves Alan Parsons, another Beatles disciple, and I know he's a sound god, but his 2008 remasters of the CD of the entire catalog is actually quite poor. I have a bug zapper under my desk, and it got something really big just now because it fried for about 15 seconds. Because I don't want mosquitoes and Holly goes in and out, so I have a bug zapper under my desk, and boy, it just got a hold of something juicy. And I can smell it. Great. We're gonna go for about 10-15 more minutes, and then we'll call it a day. Great discussion today, man. You guys are actually more on it than I am today. I'm totally like, you guys are almost driving this show today. It's great. I really appreciate the input today. You guys have had great comments. I mean, really insightful, good stuff, and knowledgeable, great stuff. Very interesting. Adam Cardos, I didn't touch this one. Has such a wonky tuning, though. Not as bad as the 820. See, that's where I disagree. That's where I disagree with you. I think the tuning on the 820 is fine. It's actually good. The problem on the 820 is the soundstage and what it does to the image and the sound placement. It just kind of Ginsu's or Cuisinarts the sound, and it spits it out in a very interesting, different way. And either you can deal with the way it's messing with the placement of the sound, or you can't. And I think it's really cool, and I'm willing to deal with that when I'm ready, when I want to hear it. I like the tuning so much and the feel of those headphones. I'm like, I really enjoy the experience. But I don't think I think the tuning is good. I think it's the image and the soundstage that are really jacked on that headphone. And you can either live with that or you can't. And most people, I think, can't. But it's what I loved about the original 800 was that it took it took music and just like expanded it, like it gave it all this extra room that wasn't normally there when you listen to a normal mix, and that's what made it such a cool headphone. Totally enjoyed it. I'm sorry, I was on Nephilim saying he's a sound god, but his 2008 remasters on CD of his entire catalog are actually quite poor. Buy the originals. I do. Here's my argument, and I'm just putting that back to the Beatles, because a lot of those stereo remasters that came out on LP were trashed. The issue with Beatles stuff is the whole left-right thing. Those first 5-6 albums were done with percussion on one side and bass on the other, and then guitar over here and vocals over here. And on a headphone, it's painful to listen to Beatles stuff off those early records in stereo. That's where the mono comes into play. But the mono remix set, by the way, is fantastic from the Beatles. But you may be referring to Alan Parsons' own personal catalog, the Alan Parsons Project. I'm not sure. Ryan Deet says there's an in-ear and over. Yes, we know that we talked about that. Laughed up. Twin Wonkies. Greetings from Chile. Sergio Valenzuela coming to us from, maybe that's our furthest guy from today. Our furthest distance. Chile. We've had France before. We've had Indonesia. That was fantastic. Where are y'all from? If you're from an interesting place that's not SoCal, let me know. We'll say goodbye in an international flair today. Sergio bought the Sultans. Still my favorite IEM that I've heard. I think the Viking is probably better, but I haven't heard it. And certainly my guy John Moulton raves about them and says he's not done anything better. So I got to take his word on it that the Vikings are probably better, but they're also twice the price. For an IEM. Ouch. Ouch. Nephilim says the LCD4 has better bass slam than the 1266 DC. And some may say otherwise. I'm not going to argue. I'd have to hear them for myself. The final audio, the final isn't. You make a good point, Nephilim, because the final is a headphone I have not listened to yet, and that's like a hole. That's an error in the Director's Garage lineup that I have not heard that final audio yet, because I've heard phenomenal things about it and I just haven't heard it. Great. New Sgt. Pepper's is like a different record. It's great. It is, but if you're familiar with the old mix, really old Cobb, it's just off-putting because it is so radically different. But the sound quality is so much better on that. Like Giles did a good job, and he did a good job with all the other remasters too. I'm a fan, and I know a lot of people don't. You get a lot of differing opinions, and it's part of it is you're just playing with something that's that's sacred. It's a sacred cow, Beatles stuff. And I'm a fan of all. I'm like, give me more. Remix it again. Do it again. Because if you give me an excuse to listen to a Beatles record again, okay. It's true. I love the Beatles. I just love their music. And what to guys like me, and if you're older than me and you're out there, I'm 55. If you're in the audience and you're older than me, you'll look at me like I'm stupid, like I'm a dumb rook. But to give people perspective, the Beatles' first hit album was 63, and their last album was 70. So 7 years. In 7 years, they did all those records. All of them. In 7 years, they produced all of that music. Holly's coming back in. Quick, let him in. Come on, buddy. I won't put you on. He does yell at me, I swear to God. in seven, and if you think about that, that's like I'm trying to put it in like a term of from the time Obama left office till now, the entire Beatles catalog came out. In the time it took Billie Eilish to do 2.5 records, most of the Beatles catalog was out. You know, when you look at the span of time, 7 years is nothing, and they did all of that insane work in that short a time. It's mind-blowing. It's like we have no appreciation. Like they don't get, you know, they get the credit that they do because they were the Beatles and the greatest band in the world. But when you look at the time period, the short interval of time period that all of that music came out, and the incredible quality from album to album, track to track, that's where the genius of what they were doing gets, if anything, a little underappreciated, if that can possibly happen with the Beatles in any way. That to me is, but that's the part that's like hard to comprehend. Like it took McCartney, you know, if you look at the span from 70 to 77 and what he released in that period versus what he had done in the previous 7 years, it's like, how did he do that in the 60s? How did anybody do that in the 60s? It's crazy. It's crazy how fast, and the quality and the amount, the volume of material is mind-blowing. Mind-blowing for that. That's my little Beatles thing for today. Okay, so Mr. Number One here says the IEM is the IE Z1R and the headphone is the NDR Z1R, if he's correct. And it has a 70 millimeter driver. Okay, that's a Canon. I gotta give you guys, I'll give it to you guys. That's a Canon 70 millimeter driver, because I think the original HD 800 was 50 millimeters, and that was a Canon. That had for its day, it was a Canon. And that 9R is a 40 millimeter Canon, 45 millimeter Canon, but it really does deliver the bass. Holy sheesh. If he's so yes, okay. So it's those first letters, the IE versus the NDR. What does NDR stand for? IE clearly is in ear. NDR, not Dr. Pepper. I don't know. Okay, so add a couple more and then we'll say goodnight. Adam Cardo says he'd love to hear the OG R10. Oh yeah, and I put that on the show. Like that's the homage that the R9 is. It's that homage to the R10. Oh, how do we go back out? It's like, screw you guys, I'm out of here. Came in and peed in the box and left. He's got the whole outside. He's got to come in to pee in my litter box in my office that I have for him, and then he goes back outside. Pee in the bush. So much fun. So glad you guys could join me today. That's so awesome. I had a great day, and you guys really drove the content today. Like I was kind of like the co-pilot today. You guys were in the pilot seat. It was really kind of fun. I didn't have an agenda for today because I didn't have that much to talk about other than the Audeze thing. And you guys really pushed the content today. It was really fun. And I learned some stuff today, and I got to go back and listen to some of these musical selections. I got to remind myself not to shut down the chat when we're done so that I can go back and make those notes. So appreciated you guys stopping by today for our happy hour hump day hangout here at the Director's Garage, the 4-H Club, as we like to say. And I really appreciate you guys stopping by. The show's been growing. We're getting better. I'm getting more episodes out, and this week I've got the big episode. Can't wait for you guys to see that. But we're starting to get momentum again. I'm starting to see the numbers jump a little bit more, and that's encouraging to see. And so subscribe if you can, because it doesn't cost much. It's a couple of calories to click the thing, and it so helps out. Like, it's everything. It sucks that it all comes down to this, but it really does come down to stupid clicks on a subscribe button at the bottom of the page and little likes. And I hate that it is that, but that's what it is. That's how YouTube does things, and that's what helps us get bigger and bigger to the point where you know, things actually start taking off for the show. And we want a big show because it's fun. It's more fun when we get more people in here. So I want to thank you guys for stopping by today. Stay tuned. Later in the week, I'm going to have episode 107 out. I don't know how soon. I've got to shoot the B-roll for it. It's got sound lock, which is the hardest thing to do on any of these shows, but it's not picture lock yet. I got to do all the B-roll, and that's going to be the big chore for this one, because there's a lot to show you. And super excited about that. Have a great rest of your week. I'm glad you all joined me for the happy hour hangout. I hope that this makes the rest of the week go a little bit smoother for you, and you all have a great time listening to some great music. I'm going to be trying to do that, and I will see you guys before you know it. Bye, everybody. Hoping. There it is.